My sister Rachel locked our 78-year-old grandfather in the basement during Christmas dinner because she claimed he smelled bad and was embarrassing her in front of her new boyfriend's wealthy family. What she didn't know was that Grandpa's phone would ring with a call that would expose the truth about our family's financial situation and completely transform how I understood courage, dignity, and what it truly means to stand up for the people who matter most. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Maya Hernandez, and this is the story of how one Christmas dinner changed my entire perspective on family loyalty, personal integrity, and the strength it takes to do what is right, even when everyone around you is doing what is convenient. I am 32 years old and work as a high school counselor in Sacramento, California. For the past 8 years, I have dedicated my career to helping teenagers navigate the complexities of adolescence, family relationships, and planning for their futures. The work is emotionally demanding but deeply rewarding, as I witness daily the transformation that occurs when young people discover their own strength and potential. My professional life centers around advocating for students who often feel overlooked or misunderstood. I specialize in working with students from challenging family situations, those who struggle with self-confidence, and young people who need guidance in developing the courage to stand up for their values and beliefs. The irony of my professional expertise in family dynamics and personal advocacy would become painfully apparent during the events I am about to describe. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment near the school where I work, a choice that reflects my commitment to being accessible to my students and their families while maintaining financial responsibility. My lifestyle is comfortable but not extravagant, focusing on experiences and relationships rather than material possessions. I drive a reliable Honda Civic that I purchased used 3 years ago, shop at farmers markets on weekends, and spend my free time reading, hiking in the nearby foothills, and volunteering at a local literacy program for adults. My family situation has always been complicated, though I had not fully understood the depth of these complications until the Christmas dinner incident forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about the people closest to me. Our family consists of my parents, Patricia and Miguel Hernandez, my younger sister Rachel, and our paternal grandfather, Eduardo Hernandez, whom we have always called Abuelo. My parents immigrated to the United States from Mexico 35 years ago, arriving with limited English skills, minimal financial resources, and an unwavering determination to create better opportunities for their future children. My father Miguel worked construction jobs during the day and attended English classes at night, eventually starting his own small landscaping business that has provided steady income for our family for over 2 decades. My mother Patricia cleaned houses while taking correspondence courses to earn her high school equivalency diploma, later becoming a certified nursing assistant at a local hospital. The values my parents instilled in Rachel and me emphasized hard work, education, respect for elders, and the importance of family loyalty above all other considerations. They sacrificed extensively to ensure that both of their daughters could attend college and pursue careers that would provide financial security and professional fulfillment. Their immigrant experience shaped their perspective on success, emphasizing stability and gradual progress over risk-taking or dramatic life changes. Abuelo Eduardo moved in with my parents 7 years ago following the death of my grandmother Esperanza. At that time, he was 71 years old, recently widowed after 53 years of marriage, and struggling with the isolation and depression that often accompany such profound loss. My parents insisted that he live with them rather than moving to a senior living facility, believing that family care was both a moral obligation and a source of mutual benefit for everyone involved. Abuelo had worked as a mechanic for 48 years before retiring, spending his career repairing cars, trucks, and farm equipment with a skill and dedication that earned him respect throughout our community. His hands, permanently stained with engine oil and marked by decades of manual labor, told the story of a man who had built his life through honest work and practical problem-solving abilities. Even at 78, he remained mentally sharp, physically capable, and eager to contribute to household activities and family discussions. The relationship between Abuelo and our family had always been characterized by mutual respect and genuine affection. He helped with cooking, shared stories about our family history and Mexican traditions, assisted with household repairs, and provided wisdom and perspective that enriched our family conversations. His presence brought stability and continuity to our family dynamics, connecting us to our cultural heritage while supporting our adaptation to American life. My sister Rachel, however, had always maintained a more complicated relationship with our family's traditional values and cultural identity. 3 years younger than me, Rachel had excelled academically and socially throughout high school and college, developing aspirations that extended far beyond our family's modest circumstances. She graduated from UC Davis with a degree in business administration and immediately secured a position with a prestigious marketing firm in San Francisco. Rachel's professional success had been accompanied by a gradual but noticeable shift in her attitudes toward our family and our cultural background. She began expressing embarrassment about our parents' accents, our family's preference for Spanish-language television programs, and the traditional Mexican foods that Abuelo enjoyed cooking. She started referring to our family gatherings as quaint and suggesting that certain customs were outdated for her new professional and social environment. The transformation in Rachel's perspective became particularly pronounced after she began dating Thomas Wellington III, the son of a prominent San Francisco investment banker. Thomas came from a family whose wealth dated back several generations, whose social circle included business executives, politicians, and cultural influencers, and whose lifestyle reflected a level of affluence that was completely foreign to our family's experience. Rachel's relationship with Thomas intensified her desire to distance herself from aspects of our family that she perceived as potentially embarrassing or socially limiting. She began insisting that family gatherings should be more sophisticated, that we should speak only English when Thomas was present, and that certain family members should modify their behavior to create better impressions on her boyfriend and his family. These changes in Rachel's attitude created tension within our family, though my parents chose to address the situation through patient conversation rather than direct confrontation. They expressed their concerns about Rachel's apparent embarrassment regarding our cultural identity while emphasizing their desire to support her professional and personal happiness. Abuelo, with characteristic wisdom and emotional maturity, responded to Rachel's criticism with gentle humor and continued expressions of love and support. As a family counselor, I recognized the psychological dynamics at play in Rachel's behavior. Her desire to fit into Thomas's social and economic environment had created internal conflict between her authentic identity and her aspirational goals. This conflict manifested as criticism of our family and attempts to modify our behavior rather than honest communication about her feelings of inadequacy or concern about social acceptance. I attempted several times to discuss these issues with Rachel, approaching the conversations with the professional skills I used in counseling students through similar identity and family conflicts. However, Rachel consistently deflected these discussions, insisting that she was simply trying to help our family improve and modernize, rather than acknowledging the underlying emotional and social pressures she was experiencing. The tension surrounding Rachel's relationship with Thomas and her changing attitudes toward our family had been building for 18 months leading up to the Christmas dinner incident. During this period, I found myself increasingly serving as a mediator between Rachel and the rest of our family, trying to preserve family harmony while advocating for Abuelo's dignity and our parents' feelings. My professional experience had taught me that family conflicts often reach crisis points during significant holidays or celebrations, when expectations for togetherness and happiness create additional pressure on existing relationship tensions. Christmas had always been our family's most important celebration, combining religious significance with cultural traditions and opportunities for extended family connection. The prospect of Thomas and his parents joining our Christmas dinner had elevated everyone's anxiety about creating positive impressions while maintaining authentic family traditions. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, Rachel had become increasingly demanding about how the dinner should be organized, what foods should be served, and how family members should dress and behave. She provided detailed instructions about conversation topics that should be avoided, suggested that certain family photographs should be temporarily removed from display, and insisted that Abuelo should limit his participation in dinner conversation to avoid potential embarrassment. These demands created ethical and emotional dilemmas for everyone in our family. My parents wanted to support Rachel's happiness and make positive impressions on Thomas and his family, but they also felt confused and hurt by the implication that our normal family behavior was somehow inadequate or shameful. Abuelo responded to Rachel's suggestions with characteristic grace, but I could see that her criticism was affecting his confidence and enthusiasm about the Christmas celebration. As Christmas approached, I found myself struggling with my own conflicted feelings about the situation. My professional training emphasized the importance of family loyalty and support, but I also believed strongly in the principles of dignity and respect for elders that Rachel's demands seemed to violate. I wanted to support my sister's relationship and professional aspirations, but I was troubled by her apparent willingness to sacrifice family relationships and cultural identity for social acceptance. The complexity of these family dynamics was compounded by my awareness that Thomas and his family represented opportunities for Rachel that extended far beyond romantic relationship. Thomas's father had indicated potential interest in hiring Rachel for a senior marketing position with his investment firm, a career opportunity that could dramatically accelerate her professional advancement and financial security. The stakes involved in making positive impressions during Christmas dinner extended beyond social acceptance to include Rachel's long-term career prospects and economic future. My own position within these family dynamics was complicated by my role as both sister and professional counselor. Rachel had always looked up to me as her older sister and had frequently sought my advice about career decisions and relationship choices. However, my professional expertise in family counseling had also made me more sensitive to the psychological and emotional implications of her behavior toward Abuelo and our parents. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. As Christmas Eve approached, I felt increasing anxiety about the potential for conflict during dinner, and concern about the impact that social pressure might have on our family's traditional celebration. I had witnessed similar situations in my professional work, where family members allowed external expectations to override internal values, often resulting in long-term damage to important relationships and personal integrity. The stage was set for a Christmas dinner that would test not only our family's ability to navigate social expectations and cultural differences, but also my own capacity to apply my professional principles to personal situations where family loyalty conflicted with moral conviction. What I could not have anticipated was that the evening would reveal secrets about our family's financial situation that would completely transform my understanding of courage, sacrifice, and what it truly means to stand up for the people who matter most. The Christmas dinner incident would become a defining moment in my personal and professional development, teaching me lessons about advocacy, integrity, and moral courage that would influence my approach to counseling students and navigating future challenges throughout my career and personal life. The morning of December 24th arrived with an unusual combination of excitement and underlying tension that seemed to permeate every corner of my parents' house. I had arrived early to help with meal preparation and final arrangements for what Rachel had repeatedly described as the most important dinner our family had ever hosted. The significance she placed on this gathering had created an atmosphere of anticipation mixed with anxiety that felt entirely foreign to our typically relaxed family celebrations. My mother, Patricia, was moving through the kitchen with an efficiency and precision that reflected weeks of careful planning and preparation. She had spent the previous evening preparing traditional Mexican dishes that represented our family's culinary heritage, while also incorporating more contemporary American cuisine that Rachel believed would appeal to Thomas and his parents. The menu represented a careful balance between authenticity and adaptation, reflecting the complex cultural negotiations that had become characteristic of our family's interaction with Rachel's new social environment. Abuelo Eduardo was seated at the kitchen table, methodically peeling potatoes for the roasted potato dish that had become his traditional contribution to our Christmas celebrations. His weathered hands moved with the practiced efficiency of someone who had performed similar tasks countless times throughout his life, transforming ordinary ingredients into components of extraordinary family memories. Despite Rachel's recent criticism and suggestions about limiting his participation in dinner conversation, he maintained his characteristic cheerfulness and eagerness to contribute to the family gathering. The kitchen conversation flowed naturally between English and Spanish, reflecting our family's comfortable bilingual communication style that had developed over decades of shared experiences and cultural adaptation. Abuelo shared stories about Christmas celebrations from his childhood in Guadalajara, while helping prepare ingredients for dishes that would bridge Mexican traditions with American expectations. His contributions to the conversation were filled with wisdom, humor, and historical perspective that enriched our understanding of family heritage and cultural continuity. Rachel arrived at mid-morning with an energy level that seemed elevated beyond her normal enthusiasm for family gatherings. She carried multiple shopping bags containing last-minute decorative items, serving dishes, and wine selections that she believed would enhance the sophistication of our dinner presentation. Her attention to visual details and social impression management had reached a level of intensity that concerned me professionally and personally. "Maya, I need you to help me rearrange the living room furniture to create better conversation areas," Rachel announced immediately upon entering the house. Thomas's parents are accustomed to more formal, entertaining environments, and I want to ensure that our home creates the right impression for meaningful conversation and relationship building. The furniture rearrangement project revealed the extent to which Rachel's anxiety about social acceptance had influenced her perception of our family's living situation. She critiqued decoration choices that had remained unchanged for years, questioned the appropriateness of family photographs that celebrated our cultural heritage, and suggested modifications to room arrangements that would minimize evidence of our family's working-class background and immigrant history. "Rachel, our home is beautiful and welcoming exactly as it is," I responded, attempting to provide reassurance while also advocating for the dignity of our family's authentic presentation. Thomas has visited several times and has always expressed appreciation for the warmth and hospitality that characterizes our family gatherings. Authenticity creates more meaningful connections than artificial presentation designed to impress others. Rachel's response revealed the depth of her internal conflict about family identity and social expectations. "Maya, you work with teenagers in a public school environment. You don't understand the social dynamics and professional relationships that exist in Thomas's family's business and social circles. These connections could determine the trajectory of my entire career and financial future. I need this dinner to demonstrate that I can navigate sophisticated social environments and represent myself appropriately in professional contexts." The conversation illuminated the pressure Rachel felt to prove herself worthy of acceptance within Thomas's family and social circle, while also advancing her career aspirations through networking and relationship building. Her concerns extended beyond romantic compatibility to include professional opportunities, social acceptance, and economic advancement that could transform her life circumstances dramatically. My professional training in family counseling had taught me to recognize the psychological mechanisms underlying Rachel's behavior. Her criticism of our family reflected anxiety about her own adequacy rather than genuine problems with our family's character or presentation. The pressure to fit into an unfamiliar social and economic environment had created internal conflict that manifested as attempts to control external circumstances rather than address underlying emotional insecurities. Thomas arrived at approximately noon with his parents, Margaret and Charles Wellington, who embodied the refined elegance and understated wealth that Rachel had described in detail during previous conversations. Margaret wore jewelry that probably cost more than my annual salary, while Charles carried himself with the quiet confidence that accompanies generational wealth and social privilege. Their presence in our modest family home created an immediate awareness of economic and cultural differences that had not been apparent during Thomas's previous individual visits. The initial interactions between our families proceeded smoothly, with my parents demonstrating the genuine hospitality and warmth that had always characterized their approach to welcoming guests into our home. Margaret and Charles responded positively to our family's friendliness, while also displaying the polite but reserved social style that Rachel had warned us to expect from people of their background and social position. Abuelo's introduction to Thomas's parents represented a moment of particular significance for our family dynamics and Rachel's anxiety management. Despite Rachel's previous suggestions about limiting his conversation participation, Abuelo greeted Margaret and Charles with the dignity and respect that reflected his personal character and cultural values. His English, while accented, was clear and articulate as he shared appropriate information about his background and expressed interest in learning about their family and professional experiences. "Mr. Wellington, Thomas has mentioned that your family has been involved in investment banking for several generations," Abuelo said with genuine curiosity and respect. "That must provide interesting perspectives on economic trends and business development over many decades." I worked as a mechanic for most of my career, but I have always been fascinated by the financial systems that support business growth and economic development. Charles responded with apparent interest and respect, engaging Abuelo in conversation about economic changes he had observed throughout his working career, and the challenges faced by small businesses in adapting to technological and market evolution. The conversation demonstrated mutual respect and intellectual engagement that contradicted Rachel's concerns about potential social awkwardness or cultural incompatibility. However, as the afternoon progressed, I began noticing subtle changes in Rachel's behavior that suggested increasing anxiety about maintaining control over the social dynamics and impression management that she considered crucial for the dinner's success. She monitored conversations closely, occasionally redirecting discussion topics when she perceived potential for embarrassment or cultural misunderstanding. Her hypervigilance created an atmosphere of tension that was noticeable to everyone present, despite her attempts to maintain an appearance of relaxed hospitality. The catalyst moment that would transform the entire evening began with an apparently minor incident involving Abuelo's clothing and personal presentation. Throughout the afternoon, Abuelo had been helping with final meal preparation, while also participating in conversations with our guests. His willingness to contribute to household activities while entertaining guests reflected his understanding of hospitality as active engagement rather than passive observation. During the meal preparation process, Abuelo's shirt had acquired faint odors from cooking activities, particularly from the traditional Mexican dishes that required extensive use of spices, garlic, and other aromatic ingredients. These cooking odors were entirely normal and temporary, representing the natural consequence of active participation in meal preparation rather than any issue with personal hygiene or cleanliness. Rachel's reaction to this completely normal situation revealed the extent to which her anxiety about social acceptance had distorted her perspective on family interactions and appropriate responses to minor inconveniences. Rather than addressing the situation discreetly or offering Abuelo an opportunity to change clothing, she chose to frame the issue as evidence of a more significant problem that required immediate and dramatic intervention. "Abuelo, you smell like cooking grease and spices," Rachel announced in front of our guests, her voice carrying a tone of criticism and embarrassment that was entirely inappropriate for the situation and deeply hurtful to someone who had been contributing generously to our family's hospitality efforts. "You need to go clean yourself up before we sit down for dinner. This is not acceptable for the kind of dinner we are hosting tonight." The room fell silent as everyone processed the harshness and inappropriateness of Rachel's public criticism of our grandfather. Abuelo's expression reflected hurt and confusion at being criticized for contributing to family activities that he had performed countless times throughout his life without previous complaint or concern. Thomas and his parents displayed obvious discomfort at witnessing this family conflict and the disrespectful treatment of an elderly family member. My mother, Patricia, attempted to diffuse the situation by offering to help Abuelo find a clean shirt and providing gentle reassurance that addressed the practical issue without validating Rachel's inappropriate criticism. However, Rachel's response escalated rather than resolved the conflict, revealing the depth of her anxiety and the extent to which pressure for social acceptance had compromised her judgment and family loyalty. "No, that is not sufficient," Rachel declared with an intensity that shocked everyone present. "The smell is too strong and will affect the dining experience for our guests. Abuelo needs to go to the basement until after dinner, so that his presence does not create an unpleasant environment for people who are not accustomed to these kinds of odors." Rachel's suggestion that our grandfather should be banished to the basement during Christmas dinner because his presence might create an unpleasant environment represented a level of disrespect and cruelty that none of us had imagined possible. The suggestion violated every principle of family loyalty, respect for elders, and basic human dignity that had been fundamental to our family's values and cultural identity. Thomas immediately stepped forward to object to Rachel's proposal, demonstrating character and moral courage that provided sharp contrast to his girlfriend's behavior. "Rachel, that is completely inappropriate and unnecessary. There is no problem here that requires such extreme measures. Your grandfather has been nothing but welcoming and gracious to my family." Margaret and Charles Wellington exchanged glances that clearly communicated their disapproval of Rachel's treatment of Abuelo and their discomfort with the family dynamics they were witnessing. Their expressions suggested that Rachel's behavior was creating exactly the opposite impression of sophistication and social competence, that she had hoped to achieve through her criticism and control efforts. Abuelo himself responded to the situation with dignity that highlighted the contrast between his character and Rachel's behavior. "Rachel, if my presence makes you uncomfortable, I will gladly change my shirt and wash my hands. There is no need for conflict or upset during Christmas celebration with our guests." However, Rachel had reached a point of anxiety and determination that prevented rational response to the situation or consideration of alternative solutions that would address practical concerns while maintaining family harmony and respect. Her fixation on control and impression management had created a psychological state that prioritized her perceived social needs over family relationships and basic human decency. "No. The basement is the only solution that ensures we can have the kind of dinner experience that is appropriate for our guests," Rachel insisted, her voice rising to a level that demonstrated her emotional instability and poor judgment. "This is my one opportunity to make the right impression on Thomas's family, and I will not allow it to be ruined by preventable problems." The moment when Rachel actually began directing Abuelo toward the basement stairs represented a complete breakdown of family loyalty and moral reasoning that shocked everyone present. My professional training in crisis intervention and conflict resolution had prepared me to recognize situations where immediate action was necessary to prevent further harm and protect vulnerable individuals from abuse or mistreatment. This was clearly such a moment. My grandfather, who had dedicated his life to family support and had welcomed our guests with grace and dignity, was being subjected to treatment that violated his fundamental human worth and contradicted every value our family had ever claimed to embrace. The situation required immediate intervention that prioritized moral courage over social harmony and family loyalty over conflict avoidance. The catalyst moment had arrived. Rachel's behavior had created a crisis that demanded clear moral choices and decisive action from everyone present. The evening that was supposed to demonstrate our family's sophistication and social competence had instead revealed fundamental questions about character, integrity, and the courage required to stand up for what is right, even when doing so involves personal cost and family conflict. What happened next would determine not only the outcome of Christmas dinner, but also the long-term trajectory of our family relationships and my own understanding of the principles that guide moral decision-making in situations where competing loyalties and expectations create complex ethical challenges. The phone call that would soon ring would provide additional context that would transform everyone's understanding of the situation. But the immediate crisis required action based on the moral clarity that comes from recognizing when basic human dignity is being violated by people who should be providing protection and support instead. The moment I witnessed Rachel physically guiding our grandfather toward the basement stairs while Thomas's parents watched in stunned silence, I experienced a psychological shift that transformed my understanding of the relationship between professional principles and personal action. My training as a family counselor had prepared me to recognize crisis situations, assess emotional dynamics, and implement intervention strategies that protect vulnerable individuals while promoting healthy family functioning. However, the theoretical framework I applied daily in my professional work had never been tested within the context of my own family relationships, where personal loyalty and professional ethics intersected in such a direct and challenging manner. The immediate situation required rapid assessment and decisive action. Abuelo's expression reflected confusion and hurt rather than anger or resistance, suggesting that he was processing Rachel's demands through the lens of family loyalty, rather than recognizing them as inappropriate treatment that warranted opposition. His willingness to comply with Rachel's unreasonable request demonstrated the respect for family harmony that had characterized his approach to relationships throughout his life, but it also indicated that he would not advocate for himself in this situation. My parents stood frozen in apparent shock at the escalation of conflict and the public nature of family discord that was occurring in front of our guests. Their immigrant experience had taught them to prioritize family unity and avoid public embarrassment that might reflect negatively on our family's reputation or social standing. However, the current situation presented them with a conflict between maintaining social harmony and protecting a vulnerable family member from treatment that violated fundamental principles of dignity and respect. Thomas continued to express objection to Rachel's behavior, demonstrating moral courage that created additional pressure for our family to respond appropriately to the crisis. His position as an outsider allowed him to assess the situation objectively, without the emotional complexity that family relationships introduce into ethical decision-making processes. However, his status as Rachel's boyfriend also created complications regarding his authority to intervene in family dynamics, and the potential consequences his opposition might have for his relationship with my sister. Margaret and Charles Wellington displayed obvious discomfort with the family conflict they were witnessing, though their responses remained polite and restrained, in accordance with their social background and cultural expectations regarding appropriate behavior as guests in someone else's home. Their presence added an additional layer of complexity to the situation, as any intervention I might implement would occur in front of people whose opinions could affect Rachel's future opportunities and our family's social relationships. The professional assessment I conducted in those crucial moments identified several critical factors that demanded immediate attention. First, Abuelo was being subjected to treatment that constituted emotional abuse and age discrimination, creating potential for psychological harm that could affect his self-esteem and family relationships permanently. Second, Rachel's behavior indicated extreme anxiety and poor judgment that suggested she was experiencing a psychological crisis that impaired her ability to make rational decisions about family relationships and social appropriateness. Third, the situation was escalating in a manner that could result in permanent damage to family relationships and public embarrassment that would affect everyone present. Fourth, my parents were experiencing paralysis in their decision-making process that prevented them from protecting Abuelo while maintaining family harmony and social relationships they valued. Finally, the presence of guests complicated any intervention strategy by creating audience pressure and social performance expectations that influenced everyone's behavior and response options. My professional training emphasized the importance of protecting vulnerable individuals from abuse, while implementing intervention strategies that promoted long-term family healing and relationship repair. However, the immediate situation demanded action that prioritized Abuelo's dignity and safety over social harmony or family conflict avoidance. The ethical principles that guided my professional work required me to advocate for someone who was unable to advocate for himself, regardless of the personal or social consequences that such advocacy might produce. The decision-making process I experienced in those moments reflected the intersection of professional expertise and personal values that defines authentic leadership in crisis situations. My work with teenagers had taught me that moral courage often emerges during moments when social pressure conflicts with ethical principles, and that the choices individuals make during such moments reveal fundamental truths about character and integrity that influence future self-respect and relationship dynamics. I stepped forward and positioned myself between Rachel and Abuelo, using body language and voice tone that communicated calm authority while preventing further escalation of the conflict. Rachel, this situation requires immediate de-escalation and private family discussion, rather than continued public conflict. I stated clearly, drawing upon crisis intervention techniques I had learned through professional training and practical experience with emotionally charged family situations. Abuelo, please sit down in the living room with our guests while Rachel and I have a brief conversation in the kitchen, I continued, providing clear direction that separated the vulnerable individual from the source of inappropriate treatment while maintaining dignity for everyone involved. Thomas, perhaps you could share some information about your family's holiday traditions while we resolve this temporary misunderstanding. Rachel's response revealed the extent to which anxiety and social pressure had impaired her judgment and empathy. Maya, you are interfering with arrangements that are necessary for creating an appropriate dinner environment, she declared with an intensity that demonstrated her inability to recognize the inappropriateness of her demands or the impact of her behavior on family relationships and guest comfort. This is my responsibility as the person organizing this dinner, and I will not allow family members who cannot maintain appropriate presentation standards to compromise the impressions we create with important guests, she continued, revealing the distorted thinking that had transformed normal cooking odors into evidence of personal inadequacy requiring extreme intervention measures. The conversation that followed required implementation of professional conflict resolution techniques within the highly personal context of family relationships and social performance pressures. My goal was to address Rachel's legitimate concerns about dinner presentation while protecting Abuelo's dignity and restoring family harmony that would allow the Christmas celebration to continue in a manner that honored both our cultural traditions and our guests' comfort. Rachel, I understand your desire to create positive impressions and ensure that our guests feel comfortable during Christmas dinner, I began, using validation techniques that acknowledged her underlying motivations while redirecting her focus toward constructive solutions. However, the approach you are implementing violates family values and creates exactly the opposite impression of sophistication and hospitality that you hope to achieve. Abuelo has been contributing generously to our meal preparation and welcoming our guests with dignity and respect that demonstrates the character and values our family represents. I continued, providing alternative framing that highlighted positive aspects of the situation while addressing practical concerns about presentation. Any minor adjustments needed for dinner presentation can be addressed through simple solutions that maintain respect for everyone involved. Rachel's resistance to alternative approaches revealed the psychological dynamics underlying her behavior. Her anxiety about social acceptance had created a mindset that interpreted normal family interactions as potential sources of embarrassment, requiring controlling intervention rather than situations that demonstrated authentic hospitality and cultural heritage. Her fear of judgment from Thomas's family had distorted her perception of appropriate family behavior and created expectations that contradicted the values and traditions that had always characterized our Christmas celebrations. The intervention process required addressing both the immediate crisis and the underlying emotional issues that had created conditions for inappropriate behavior. My professional experience had taught me that sustainable resolution of family conflicts requires understanding and addressing root causes, rather than simply managing surface-level symptoms or temporary behavioral modifications. Rachel, the pressure you are experiencing to create perfect impressions for Thomas's family is understandable given the importance of this relationship for your personal and professional goals, I explained, using therapeutic communication techniques that validated her emotions while challenging her behavioral choices. However, authentic relationships and lasting positive impressions develop through genuine character demonstration, rather than artificial presentation designed to conceal family identity or cultural heritage. Quote, Thomas and his parents have already expressed appreciation for our family's warmth and hospitality during previous interactions, I continued, providing evidence that contradicted her assumptions about necessary impression management strategies. Their discomfort tonight is not related to Abuelo's presence or presentation, but rather to witnessing family conflict and disrespectful treatment of an elderly family member who has been nothing but gracious and welcoming. The conversation revealed fundamental differences in our perspectives about family loyalty, social relationships, and the strategies that create authentic connection versus artificial impression management. Rachel's approach prioritized controlling external variables to create desired social outcomes, while my professional training emphasized authenticity and character demonstration as foundations for meaningful relationships and sustainable social success. Thomas's continued advocacy for Abuelo and his obvious discomfort with Rachel's behavior provided additional evidence that her impression management strategy was producing results opposite to her intentions. His intervention demonstrated respect for family values and ethical treatment of elderly individuals that directly contradicted Rachel's assumptions about the social expectations and character priorities of wealthy families. Margaret and Charles Wellington's expressions and body language indicated agreement with Thomas's position and disapproval of Rachel's treatment of our grandfather. Their reactions suggested that wealthy, sophisticated families value character demonstration and family loyalty, rather than artificial presentation designed to conceal authentic identity or cultural heritage. Rachel's behavior was creating impressions of poor character and questionable values rather than sophistication and social competence. The crisis reached a turning point when I made the decision to directly address the fundamental issue underlying the conflict, rather than continuing to negotiate peripheral concerns about dinner presentation and social management. The situation required clear moral leadership that prioritized family values and ethical principles over social performance and conflict avoidance. Rachel, I will not allow you to lock our grandfather in the basement during Christmas dinner based on concerns about cooking odors that result from his generous contribution to our family's hospitality efforts. I declared with calm firmness that communicated non-negotiable boundaries regarding treatment of vulnerable family members. This behavior violates every principle of respect, dignity, and family loyalty that our parents taught us and that should guide our treatment of people we love. If you cannot find appropriate ways to address practical concerns about dinner presentation that maintain respect for abuelo and family harmony, then perhaps this dinner arrangement is not suitable for our family's values and traditions. I continued, providing clear consequences that prioritized family relationships over social performance and external validation. The moment of confrontation revealed the depth of character differences that had developed between Rachel and the rest of our family during her relationship with Thomas and professional advancement within elite social circles. Her willingness to sacrifice family loyalty for social acceptance indicated fundamental changes in values and priorities that extended beyond temporary anxiety or social pressure into more serious questions about identity and character development. However, the intervention process was interrupted by an unexpected development that would transform everyone's understanding of the situation and reveal information that completely changed the context within which we were evaluating family relationships, social expectations, and the true nature of our Christmas dinner gathering. Abuelo's cell phone began ringing with a call that would expose secrets about our family's financial situation and create new dynamics that would test everyone's character in ways none of us had anticipated. The sound of the phone ringing in that moment of family crisis created a pause in the conflict that allowed everyone to reassess the situation and consider whether their current priorities and behavior aligned with their deeper values and long-term relationship goals. What none of us realized was that the call would reveal information that would completely transform our understanding of courage, sacrifice, and what it truly means to stand up for the people who matter most in our lives. The sharp electronic sound of Abuelo's cell phone pierced through the tension that had enveloped our living room like a sudden lightning bolt in a gathering storm. The ringtone, a traditional Mexican folk song that Abuelo had programmed to remind him of his homeland, created an almost surreal contrast to the heated family conflict that had been escalating throughout the afternoon. Every person in the room turned toward the sound, and the momentary interruption provided a brief respite from the emotional intensity that had been building toward what seemed like an inevitable family rupture. Abuelo reached into his shirt pocket with the careful deliberation that characterized all of his movements, his weathered hands steady despite the stress of the situation he had been enduring. The caller identification on his phone screen displayed a name that made him pause, with an expression of concern and anticipation that immediately caught my attention as someone trained to observe subtle changes in behavior and emotional state. "Disculpe por favor," Abuelo said politely to our guests, his natural courtesy remaining intact despite the inappropriate treatment he had received from Rachel. "This call is from my attorney, and it may be important business that requires immediate attention." The mention of an attorney created an immediate shift in the atmosphere of the room, as everyone present began to consider what type of legal business our grandfather might be conducting and why such a call would occur on Christmas Eve. Rachel's expression revealed a mixture of irritation at the interruption and curiosity about legal matters that might involve our family, while Thomas and his parents displayed the polite attention that their social background had taught them to demonstrate when private business matters arose in social settings. Abuelo answered the call with formal Spanish that demonstrated respect for the professional nature of the conversation while also maintaining the cultural authenticity that Rachel had been trying to suppress throughout the afternoon. His side of the conversation included phrases that suggested discussion of financial documents, legal procedures, and time-sensitive matters that required immediate decision-making and authorization. As I listened to the conversation, my professional training in crisis assessment led me to observe Abuelo's facial expressions and body language for indicators of the emotional impact this call was having on him. What I witnessed was a complex combination of satisfaction, relief, and determination that suggested the call involved positive developments related to significant personal or financial matters that had been under consideration for an extended period. The conversation continued for approximately 10 minutes, during which time the family conflict that had been consuming our attention was temporarily suspended, as everyone waited to understand the nature of the legal business that had interrupted our Christmas gathering. Rachel attempted to maintain conversation with Thomas and his parents, but her distraction was obvious as she tried to process the implications of Abuelo's unexpected legal consultation. When Abuelo concluded the call, he sat quietly for several moments, appearing to organize his thoughts and consider how to communicate information that would clearly have significant impact on our family's understanding of his personal situation and financial circumstances. His expression had transformed from the hurt and confusion that had characterized his response to Rachel's treatment into something that reflected confidence and moral authority that commanded immediate respect and attention. "Maya, Rachel, and your parents need to hear this information immediately," Abuelo announced with a gravity that made clear the importance of what he was about to reveal. "The conversation I just completed involves matters that will affect our entire family, and that provide important context for the behavior and attitudes that have been displayed this afternoon." The formal tone and serious demeanor that Abuelo adopted created immediate anticipation and concern among everyone present. "My professional experience had taught me to recognize moments when individuals prepare to disclose information that will fundamentally change group dynamics and relationship understanding, and Abuelo's manner clearly indicated that we were approaching such a moment. "For the past 18 months, I have been working with attorneys and financial advisors to finalize arrangements for a significant charitable donation that will represent the majority of my personal wealth and assets," Abuelo began, his voice carrying the weight of decisions that had clearly required extensive consideration and planning. "The phone call I just received confirmed that all legal requirements have been completed, and that the donation will be processed immediately following the Christmas holiday." Quote, "The revelation that Abuelo possessed significant personal wealth came as a complete shock to everyone in our family, as we had always understood his financial situation to be modest and dependent primarily on Social Security benefits and small savings accumulated during his working career. The concept that he had been managing substantial assets while living simply in our family home challenged fundamental assumptions about his circumstances and created immediate questions about the scope and nature of his financial resources. The donation involves $850,000 that will be distributed among 3 charitable organizations that provide educational scholarships for first-generation college students from immigrant families, support services for elderly individuals who lack family assistance, and community development programs in underserved neighborhoods," Abuelo continued, providing details that revealed both the magnitude of his wealth and the thoughtful consideration he had given to its charitable distribution. Rachel's reaction to this information demonstrated the extent to which her assumptions about family financial circumstances had influenced her behavior and attitudes throughout the afternoon. Her expression reflected shock, confusion, and what appeared to be regret as she began to process the implications of having treated someone with substantial financial resources as though he were an embarrassment that required concealment from sophisticated guests. "The decision to donate these assets rather than leaving them as inheritance reflects my belief that wealth should be used to create opportunities for others, rather than providing unearned advantages to family members who are already capable of achieving success through their own efforts and abilities," Abuelo explained, providing insight into the values and principles that had guided his financial planning and charitable giving decisions. Thomas and his parents listened to this revelation with obvious respect and admiration for the generosity and wisdom that Abuelo's charitable planning represented. Their expressions suggested that they recognized the significance of his decision to use personal wealth for social benefit rather than family enrichment, and their body language indicated growing appreciation for the character and values that had guided his approach to financial stewardship. My mother Patricia began crying quietly as she processed the implications of Abuelo's revelation and the contrast between his generous character and the treatment he had received from Rachel during the afternoon. Her emotional response reflected recognition that her father-in-law had been conducting significant charitable business, while enduring criticism and disrespect from family members who had made incorrect assumptions about his worth and dignity. However, Abuelo continued, his tone becoming more serious and pointed, "The final decision about proceeding with this donation was contingent upon my assessment of whether our family demonstrates the values and character that justify the privileges and opportunities we have received through previous generations' sacrifices and hard work." The implication that Abuelo had been evaluating our family's character and behavior as criteria for his charitable decision-making created immediate tension and concern among everyone present. Rachel's behavior during the afternoon had clearly failed to meet the standards of respect and family loyalty that would demonstrate positive character development and appreciation for the sacrifices that had created our current opportunities. The treatment I have received today, particularly the suggestion that I should be locked in the basement during Christmas dinner because my presence might create embarrassment for guests, indicates fundamental problems with family values and character development that concern me deeply, Abuelo stated with calm authority that made his disappointment clear without expressing anger or vindictiveness. The direct confrontation between Abuelo's dignified response to mistreatment and Rachel's attempts to prioritize social impression management over family loyalty created a moral clarity that eliminated any ambiguity about the ethical dimensions of the afternoon's conflicts. His revelation about charitable giving demonstrated practical commitment to values that contrasted sharply with Rachel's willingness to sacrifice family relationships for social acceptance. Rachel's attempt to respond to Abuelo's revelation revealed the inadequacy of her previous assumptions and the superficiality of her approach to family relationships and social success. "Abuelo, I had no idea about your financial situation or charitable planning," she began, her voice reflecting recognition that her behavior had been based on incorrect information and misguided priorities. "The lack of knowledge about my financial circumstances does not excuse treatment that violates basic principles of respect and family loyalty," Abuelo responded with gentle firmness that maintained his authority while providing opportunity for learning and character development. "Dignity and courtesy should characterize our treatment of all people, regardless of their perceived social status or economic circumstances." Thomas stepped forward to address the situation with moral courage that demonstrated character development beyond his privileged background and social advantages. "Mr. Hernandez, your charitable generosity and commitment to helping others represents exactly the kind of character and values that create meaningful impact in the world," he stated with obvious sincerity and respect. "Rachel's behavior this afternoon has been inappropriate and hurtful, and I want you to know that it does not reflect my family's values or expectations regarding treatment of elderly family members," Thomas continued, demonstrating willingness to advocate for ethical principles even when doing so created conflict with his girlfriend and potential damage to their relationship. Margaret and Charles Wellington expressed agreement with their son's assessment and added their own appreciation for Abuelo's charitable commitment and their concern about the family dynamics they had witnessed during the afternoon. Their responses indicated that wealthy, sophisticated families recognize and value character demonstration over artificial social presentation, directly contradicting Rachel's assumptions about impression management strategies. The revelation about Abuelo's wealth and charitable planning had transformed the entire context within which we evaluated the afternoon's conflicts and character demonstrations. Rachel's behavior, which had been motivated by desire to create positive impressions for Thomas's wealthy family, had actually demonstrated poor character and questionable values that contradicted the very qualities that sophisticated people recognize and appreciate. My decision to intervene in the family conflict and advocate for Abuelo's dignity had been validated by information that none of us had possessed during the crisis, but the ethical principles that guided my intervention remained sound regardless of external circumstances or hidden information. The courage required to stand up for vulnerable family members against inappropriate treatment represents fundamental character that should guide behavior in all situations, not just those where hidden benefits might result from ethical action. The moment represented a profound lesson about the importance of treating all people with dignity and respect based on their inherent human worth, rather than perceived social status or economic circumstances. Abuelo's charitable generosity and financial resources were relevant to understanding his personal situation, but the inappropriateness of Rachel's treatment would have been equally clear regardless of his wealth or social standing. The Christmas dinner that had been intended to demonstrate our family's sophistication and social competence had instead revealed fundamental truths about character, values, and the courage required to advocate for ethical principles when social pressure encourages compromise or accommodation of inappropriate behavior. The lessons learned during this crisis would influence my approach to professional counseling and personal relationships throughout my career, providing practical experience with the intersection of moral courage and family loyalty that defines authentic leadership in challenging situations. The aftermath of Abuelo's revelation created a profound silence that stretched across our living room, like the calm that follows a thunderstorm, when the air itself seems charged with the energy of transformation and the promise of fundamental change. Each person present appeared to be processing the implications of information that had completely altered their understanding of the afternoon's events and the character dynamics that had been revealed through crisis and conflict. Rachel remained motionless in her chair, her expression reflecting the psychological disorientation that occurs when foundational assumptions about reality prove to be incorrect and require complete reassessment of previous decisions and behavior patterns. The confident social management strategies that had guided her approach to the Christmas dinner had been based on premises that were not merely flawed, but completely reversed from actual circumstances, creating a cognitive dissonance that challenged her fundamental understanding of family relationships and social dynamics. The recognition that she had attempted to humiliate and exile someone with substantial financial resources and demonstrated charitable generosity represented more than simple embarrassment about tactical errors in impression management. The revelation exposed deeper character flaws related to her willingness to sacrifice family loyalty for perceived social advancement, and her tendency to make judgments about people's worth based on superficial assessments of their economic status and social presentation. Thomas continued to demonstrate moral courage and emotional maturity that distinguished him from the privileged background stereotypes that might have been expected based on his family's wealth and social position. His immediate recognition of the inappropriateness of Rachel's behavior and his willingness to advocate for Abuelo's dignity had preceded any knowledge of financial circumstances, indicating character development that prioritized ethical principles over social convenience or relationship maintenance. "Rachel, I think you owe your grandfather a sincere apology for your treatment of him this afternoon," Thomas stated with calm authority that reflected both personal conviction and respect for family values that transcended economic considerations. "The disrespect you showed towards someone who has been nothing but gracious and welcoming represents behavior that I cannot support or understand." Margaret and Charles Wellington exchanged glances that communicated their agreement with their son's assessment and their growing concern about the character and values that Rachel had demonstrated during the family crisis. Their expressions suggested that the afternoon's events had provided them with important information about Rachel's personality and moral development that would influence their evaluation of her suitability as a potential family member and business associate. My parents struggled to navigate the complex emotions and family dynamics that had emerged from the afternoon's revelations. Their immigrant experience had taught them to prioritize family unity and avoid public conflict that might damage relationships or social standing, but the situation required acknowledgement of inappropriate behavior and recommitment to family values that had been violated during the crisis. My mother Patricia approached Abuelo with tears in her eyes and embraced him with an expression of love and remorse that communicated both appreciation for his charitable generosity and regret about the treatment he had endured from family members who should have provided unconditional support and respect. Her emotional response reflected recognition that the afternoon's events had tested fundamental family bonds and revealed character strengths and weaknesses that demanded honest assessment and potential relationship adjustments. "Papa, I am so proud of your generous heart and your commitment to helping others through your charitable giving," my mother said with genuine warmth and admiration. "I am also deeply sorry that you experienced disrespect and hurtful treatment in our home, especially during Christmas celebration, when family love and harmony should be our highest priorities." My father Miguel stepped forward to address the situation with the dignity and moral authority that had always characterized his approach to family leadership and conflict resolution. His response to the crisis reflected the values and principles that had guided our family's development, and that should continue to influence our behavior regardless of external pressures or social expectations. This afternoon has taught us important lessons about the difference between authentic family values and artificial social presentation designed to impress others. My father stated with calm firmness that established clear expectations for future family behavior and relationship dynamics. Our family's strength has always come from mutual respect, cultural pride, and commitment to supporting each other through challenges and celebrations. The behavior that has been displayed toward Abuelo contradicts everything that your mother and I have tried to teach about treating people with dignity and maintaining family loyalty even when external pressures encourage different priorities," he continued, providing clear moral guidance that addressed both the immediate crisis and broader questions about character development and value systems. The conversation that followed required careful navigation of complex family dynamics, while maintaining accountability for inappropriate behavior and recommitment to ethical principles that should guide future interactions. My professional training in family therapy provided frameworks for addressing conflict and promoting healing, but the personal nature of the situation demanded emotional courage and moral clarity that extended beyond technical expertise. Rachel's attempt to respond to the family intervention revealed the depth of her internal conflict and the challenge she faced in acknowledging behavior that contradicted her self-image and professional aspirations. The pressure to maintain her relationship with Thomas while addressing family concerns about her character created psychological tension that required honest self-assessment and genuine commitment to change. "I realized that my behavior this afternoon was inappropriate and hurtful," Rachel began, her voice reflecting recognition that simple acknowledgement of error would be insufficient to address the damage that had been done to family relationships and personal integrity. "I allowed anxiety about social impressions to override family values and basic principles of respect for elderly family members." However, the apology that followed demonstrated the superficial understanding that often characterizes initial responses to moral confrontation, when individuals have not yet processed the deeper implications of their behavior or developed genuine commitment to character change. Rachel's words reflected awareness that apology was expected rather than authentic remorse about the impact of her actions on Abuelo's dignity and family relationships. "Abuelo, I apologize for suggesting that you should go to the basement during dinner, and I understand that my concerns about presentation were handled inappropriately," Rachel continued, using language that minimized the severity of her behavior by framing it as poor handling of legitimate concerns rather than fundamental violations of family loyalty and human dignity. Abuelo's response to Rachel's apology demonstrated the wisdom and emotional maturity that had characterized his approach to family relationships throughout his life, while also establishing clear expectations for future behavior and character development that would be necessary for relationship repair and family healing. "Rachel, I accept your apology and I understand that social pressure can create anxiety that affects judgment and decision-making," Abuelo replied with grace that reflected his commitment to family harmony while maintaining personal dignity and moral authority. However, genuine change requires understanding the deeper values and principles that should guide our treatment of all people, regardless of their perceived social status or economic circumstances. "The lesson that must be learned from this afternoon involves more than appropriate party planning or social presentation," he continued, providing guidance that connected the immediate situation to broader questions about character development and value systems. Family loyalty, respect for elders, and commitment to treating all people with dignity represent fundamental principles that should remain constant regardless of external pressures or social expectations. The intervention process that followed required implementation of family therapy techniques that promoted accountability while maintaining relationship bonds that could support future healing and character development. My professional experience had taught me that sustainable change requires both acknowledgement of inappropriate behavior and development of alternative strategies for managing similar situations in the future. "Rachel, the situation we have experienced today provides an opportunity for learning and growth that can strengthen both individual character and family relationships," I explained, using therapeutic communication approaches that balanced accountability with hope for positive change. "However, this growth requires honest examination of the values and priorities that influenced your decision-making and genuine commitment to developing alternative approaches that align with family principles." The conversation that followed explored the psychological dynamics that had contributed to Rachel's behavior, including anxiety about social acceptance, pressure to prove herself worthy of inclusion in Thomas's family and social circle, and concern about career opportunities that might depend on networking and relationship development with influential people. Thomas contributed to the family discussion with maturity and moral clarity that demonstrated his understanding of the situation's deeper implications and his commitment to supporting character development over social convenience or relationship maintenance. His willingness to address difficult topics with his girlfriend's family reflected emotional courage and ethical principles that distinguished him as someone worthy of respect and partnership consideration. The values that my family respects and admires involve treating all people with dignity, demonstrating loyalty to family relationships, and maintaining integrity even when external pressures encourage compromise, Thomas explained, providing clear information about the character expectations that would guide his family's evaluation of potential relationships and business associations. The behavior that Rachel displayed this afternoon contradicts these values and raises serious questions about character development and moral priorities that would need to be addressed before our families could develop closer relationships, he continued, establishing consequences that connected personal behavior to relationship opportunities and social acceptance. Margaret and Charles Wellington reinforced their son's assessment while expressing appreciation for the family values and cultural authenticity that had characterized our Christmas celebration, despite the afternoon's conflicts. Their responses provided important feedback about the impressions that had actually been created through the day's events and the character qualities that sophisticated people recognize and value. The warmth and hospitality that your family has demonstrated, along with the charitable generosity and wisdom that Mr. Hernandez has shared, represent exactly the kind of character and values that create meaningful relationships and lasting positive impact, Margaret stated with obvious sincerity and respect. The suggestion that these qualities should be concealed or modified to create artificial impressions reflects misunderstanding about what constitutes genuine sophistication and social competence, she continued, providing education about authentic relationship building that contradicted Rachel's assumptions about impression management strategies. The Christmas dinner that had been intended to demonstrate our family's social sophistication had instead provided education about character, values, and the courage required to maintain ethical principles when external pressures encourage compromise or accommodation of inappropriate behavior. The lessons learned during this crisis would influence my approach to professional counseling and personal relationships, providing practical experience with moral leadership that extends beyond theoretical knowledge to authentic character demonstration. The evening that followed Abuelo's revelation and the subsequent family discussions transformed what had been planned as a celebratory Christmas dinner into a profound learning experience that would reshape our understanding of family relationships, personal integrity, and the complex dynamics that govern social interactions within diverse cultural and economic environments. The process of moving forward from crisis to healing required careful navigation of emotional sensitivities, while maintaining commitment to the ethical principles that had been clarified through conflict and revelation. The practical challenge of proceeding with Christmas dinner after such intense family discussions required delicate balance between acknowledging the significance of what had occurred and creating space for relationship repair and celebration of positive family values. My professional training in crisis intervention had taught me that the period immediately following major revelations often determines whether conflicts result in lasting damage to relationships or become catalysts for deeper understanding and stronger family bonds. Rachel's emotional state following the confrontation reflected the psychological complexity that accompanies recognition of significant character failures and the need for fundamental changes in behavior and attitude. The process of accepting responsibility for inappropriate treatment of a family member while processing new information about family dynamics and social expectations created internal tension that would require time and support to resolve constructively. The conversation that continued during dinner preparation provided opportunities for deeper exploration of the values and assumptions that had contributed to the afternoon's crisis, while establishing frameworks for future family interactions that would honor both individual aspirations and collective commitment to ethical principles. The kitchen activities served as natural settings for informal discussion that allowed emotional processing while maintaining focus on shared goals and collaborative efforts. Thomas demonstrated remarkable emotional maturity and relationship skills as he engaged with our family's processing of the afternoon's events, while maintaining appropriate boundaries regarding his role as a guest and potential future family member. His approach balanced respect for family dynamics with clear communication about personal values and expectations that would guide his evaluation of relationship potential and family compatibility. Mrs. Hernandez, the meal preparation that your family has undertaken represents exactly the kind of collaborative effort and cultural authenticity that creates meaningful celebration and lasting memories, Thomas observed while helping with final dinner arrangements. The suggestion that any aspect of this hospitality should be modified or concealed to create artificial impressions completely misunderstands what constitutes genuine sophistication and social grace. His parents reinforced this perspective through their enthusiastic participation in meal service, and their obvious appreciation for the traditional Mexican dishes that represented our family's cultural heritage and culinary expertise. Their willingness to engage with unfamiliar foods and cooking techniques demonstrated openness to cultural learning that contradicted Rachel's assumptions about the social expectations and cultural preferences of wealthy families. Margaret Wellington's approach to the dinner conversation revealed sophisticated understanding of cross-cultural relationship building and genuine curiosity about our family's immigration experience and cultural adaptation strategies. Her questions about traditional holiday customs and family history reflected respect for cultural diversity rather than expectation of assimilation or modification to accommodate different social backgrounds. Mr. Hernandez, your decision to maintain traditional cooking methods and family recipes while adapting to American cultural contexts represents exactly the kind of cultural bridge building that enriches communities and creates opportunities for mutual learning and appreciation, Margaret commented while sampling the mole sauce that Abuelo had prepared, using techniques learned from his mother decades earlier. The dinner conversation that evolved provided natural opportunities for Abuelo to share stories about his charitable planning and the research process that had guided his selection of organizations that would receive his financial donations. His explanation of the criteria he had used to evaluate different charitable opportunities revealed sophisticated understanding of social impact and strategic philanthropy that impressed Thomas and his parents while providing education about wealth management and social responsibility. The decision-making process for charitable giving requires careful evaluation of organizational effectiveness, community need assessment, and long-term impact potential, Abuelo explained, while describing his research into educational scholarship programs and community development initiatives. Wealth represents responsibility for contributing to social progress rather than simply personal comfort or family advantage. The discussion of charitable giving and social responsibility created opportunities for Thomas's family to share their own philanthropic activities and community involvement, revealing common values and shared commitment to using resources for positive social impact. The conversation demonstrated that wealthy families often prioritize charitable giving and community service in ways that aligned with Abuelo's values and decision-making approaches. Charles Wellington described his family's involvement in educational foundation work and scholarship programs that provided opportunities for first-generation college students from diverse backgrounds to access higher education and professional development resources. The similarity between his family's charitable priorities and Abuelo's donation recipients created natural connection points that transcended economic and cultural differences. The scholarship programs that our foundation supports have consistently demonstrated that educational access creates exponential returns through career advancement, community leadership development, and intergenerational impact that benefits entire families and neighborhoods, Charles explained while expressing admiration for Abuelo's research-based approach to charitable selection and impact measurement. The revelation that both families shared commitment to educational philanthropy and community development created common ground that facilitated deeper conversation about values, social responsibility, and the role that wealth should play in creating opportunities for others. The discussion provided Rachel with examples of how wealthy families actually think about money, status, and social contribution that contradicted her assumptions about impression management and social acceptance strategies. Throughout the dinner conversation, I observed Rachel's gradual recognition that her approach to social climbing and impression management had been based on fundamental misunderstandings about how sophisticated people evaluate character and relationship potential. The authentic conversation between our families demonstrated that genuine connection develops through shared values and mutual respect, rather than artificial presentation designed to conceal cultural identity or family background. The psychological process that Rachel experienced during the dinner reflected the cognitive restructuring that occurs when deeply held assumptions prove incorrect and require fundamental reassessment of beliefs and behavioral strategies. Her willingness to listen to the conversation without attempting to control or redirect it indicated beginning acceptance of the need for character development and relationship approach modifications. My professional observation of Rachel's behavior during this period suggested that she was processing multiple layers of information simultaneously. The immediate recognition that her treatment of Abuelo had been inappropriate was accompanied by broader realization that her entire approach to social advancement and relationship building required reconsideration and potential fundamental change. The family dynamics that emerged during dinner demonstrated the healing potential that exists when conflicts are addressed through honest communication rather than avoidance or superficial accommodation. The willingness of all family members to engage in difficult conversations while maintaining commitment to relationship preservation created opportunities for growth and understanding that would not have been possible through conflict avoidance strategies. Thomas's continued presence and positive engagement with our family discussions provided important validation for the character and values that had been demonstrated through the crisis resolution process. His decision to remain for dinner and participate in family conversation despite the afternoon's conflicts indicated recognition that the character qualities revealed through crisis management were more important than social perfection or conflict avoidance. The evening also provided opportunities for me to reflect on the intersection of professional expertise and personal application that had characterized my intervention in the family crisis. The counseling techniques and conflict resolution strategies that I used daily in my work with teenagers had proven effective in adult family situations, though the emotional complexity of advocating for family members while challenging sisters' behavior had required levels of courage and moral clarity that extended beyond technical competence. The success of the intervention process validated my belief that professional training in human behavior and relationship dynamics could enhance personal effectiveness in challenging situations, while also demonstrating that technical knowledge must be combined with moral courage and commitment to ethical principles to create meaningful change in complex interpersonal conflicts. As the evening progressed, the conversation gradually shifted from crisis processing to future planning and relationship development that would incorporate the lessons learned through conflict and revelation. The discussion included exploration of how family gatherings could be structured to honor both cultural traditions and individual comfort levels, while maintaining commitment to inclusive participation and mutual respect. Rachel's contributions to this planning conversation indicated growing understanding of the difference between authentic accommodation of diverse needs and artificial modification designed to create false impressions. Her suggestions for future family activities reflected beginning integration of the feedback she had received about character development and relationship-building approaches. The Christmas celebration that had begun with conflict and crisis concluded with renewed appreciation for family bonds and clearer understanding of the values and principles that should guide future interactions and decision-making processes. The experience provided practical education about moral courage, cultural authenticity, and the character qualities that create lasting relationships and meaningful social connections. The lessons learned during this Christmas dinner would continue to influence our family's approach to conflict resolution, cultural identity, and relationship building throughout subsequent years, creating foundation for stronger family bonds and more authentic social interactions that honored both individual aspirations and collective commitment to ethical principles and mutual support. The weeks that followed our transformative Christmas dinner marked a period of sustained reflection and deliberate character development that would establish new patterns of family interaction and personal growth extending far beyond the immediate resolution of holiday conflicts. The integration of lessons learned during crisis required consistent application of ethical principles to daily situations, while maintaining commitment to relationship building that honored both individual development and collective family values. Rachel's journey toward genuine character transformation began with comprehensive self-assessment that addressed the underlying beliefs and social anxieties that had contributed to her inappropriate treatment of Abuelo and misguided approach to relationship building within Thomas's social circle. The process required honest examination of her motivations, fears, and assumptions about success, social acceptance, and the strategies that create authentic connection versus artificial impression management. The psychological work that Rachel undertook during this period involved professional counseling that provided frameworks for understanding the intersection of immigrant family dynamics, social mobility aspirations, and identity development challenges that had influenced her behavior and decision-making processes. The therapeutic exploration revealed complex emotional patterns related to cultural identity, family loyalty, and professional advancement that required careful navigation and intentional modification. My role as Rachel's sister and family counselor created unique opportunities to support her character development while maintaining appropriate professional boundaries and avoiding dual relationship complications that could compromise therapeutic effectiveness. The experience required integration of family knowledge with professional expertise, while ensuring that personal investment in relationship outcomes did not interfere with objective assessment and intervention strategies. The counseling process that Rachel engaged revealed fundamental misconceptions about social success and relationship building that had guided her approach to professional networking and romantic relationship development. Her assumptions about the values and expectations of wealthy families had been based on stereotypes and social media presentations, rather than authentic understanding of character qualities that sophisticated people recognize and appreciate. Thomas's continued involvement in our family relationships during this period provided practical education about authentic social interaction and relationship building that contradicted Rachel's previous assumptions about impression management and cultural modification strategies. His consistent demonstration of respect for our family's cultural heritage and values created opportunities for Rachel to observe alternative approaches to cross-cultural relationship development. The professional guidance that Rachel received emphasized the development of authentic self-presentation strategies that highlighted genuine character strengths, rather than attempting to conceal or modify cultural background and family heritage. The therapeutic approach focused on building confidence in her authentic identity, while developing skills for navigating diverse social environments without compromising personal integrity or family loyalty. Abuelo's charitable donation process during this period provided ongoing opportunities for family education about wealth management, social responsibility, and the values that guide philanthropic decision-making among individuals who have achieved financial success. His willingness to share information about his research and selection criteria offered insights into the thought processes and value systems that characterize responsible wealth stewardship. The scholarship selection process that Abuelo implemented for his educational donation required extensive research into academic institutions, program effectiveness, and student success outcomes that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of educational impact and strategic giving approaches. His methodology involved evaluation criteria that prioritized academic potential, financial need, and commitment to community service, rather than simple academic achievement or demographic characteristics. The community development projects that would receive portions of Abuelo's donation focused on initiatives that created sustainable economic opportunities and social infrastructure improvements in underserved neighborhoods. His research into organizational effectiveness and impact measurement revealed commitment to accountability and results-oriented philanthropy that impressed Thomas's family and provided education about responsible charitable giving. My professional development during this period benefited significantly from the practical experience of applying family counseling techniques to complex personal situations, while maintaining therapeutic effectiveness and ethical boundaries. The integration of professional training with family knowledge created enhanced understanding of cultural dynamics and identity development challenges that would improve my effectiveness in counseling students from diverse backgrounds. The experience of advocating for vulnerable family members while challenging inappropriate behavior from relatives provided practical education about moral courage and ethical leadership that extended beyond theoretical knowledge to authentic character demonstration. The success of intervention strategies validated the importance of combining professional competence with personal integrity and commitment to ethical principles. The relationship development between our families during this period demonstrated the effectiveness of authentic cultural sharing and mutual respect as foundations for meaningful connection across economic and social differences. Thomas's parents continued to engage with our family traditions and cultural heritage, while sharing their own experiences and perspectives in ways that created genuine friendship rather than artificial accommodation. Margaret Wellington's interest in our family's immigration story and cultural adaptation strategies led to extensive conversations about resilience, family support systems, and the character qualities that enable successful navigation of challenging transitions and identity development processes. Her genuine curiosity about our experiences provided validation for our family's journey, while creating opportunities for mutual learning and appreciation. Charles Wellington's business mentorship of my father's landscaping company during this period created practical opportunities for professional development and business expansion that demonstrated the potential benefits of authentic relationship building versus artificial networking strategies. The consultation and guidance that Charles provided reflected genuine interest in supporting entrepreneurial success rather than superficial social interaction. The business development initiatives that emerged from this relationship included strategic planning for service expansion, financial management improvements, and marketing strategies that would position my father's company for sustainable growth and increased profitability. The mentorship approach emphasized building on existing strengths while developing new capabilities that would enhance competitive positioning and market opportunities. Rachel's gradual integration of character development lessons into her professional behavior during this period created opportunities for authentic advancement based on demonstrated competence and integrity, rather than impression management and social manipulation strategies. Her approach to workplace relationships began reflecting the values and communication skills that she was developing through therapeutic work and family relationship repair. The professional recognition that Rachel received during this period resulted from improved performance and authentic leadership demonstration, rather than networking manipulation or artificial presentation designed to create false impressions. Her growing confidence in her genuine capabilities led to more effective collaboration and strategic thinking that enhanced her value to employers and clients. The career advancement opportunities that emerged for Rachel reflected the natural consequences of character development and authentic competence demonstration, rather than social climbing or relationship manipulation strategies. Her growing reputation for integrity and collaborative effectiveness created expanding opportunities for professional growth and leadership development. Thomas's decision to formalize his commitment to our family relationship during this period reflected his assessment that Rachel's character development represented genuine transformation rather than temporary behavioral modification designed to address immediate relationship concerns. His proposal and engagement planning incorporated appreciation for our family's cultural traditions and values, while maintaining respect for his own family's expectations and preferences. The engagement celebration that our families planned together demonstrated successful integration of diverse cultural traditions and social expectations through collaborative planning that honored both families' values and preferences. The event planning process provided opportunities for continued relationship building and cultural exchange that strengthened inter-family connections and mutual appreciation. My professional growth during this period included enhanced understanding of the relationship between individual character development and family system transformation that would improve my effectiveness in counseling families experiencing similar conflicts and identity challenges. The practical experience of facilitating healing while maintaining therapeutic boundaries provided valuable skills for future professional applications. The recognition that my intervention strategies had contributed to positive family transformation and relationship enhancement validated my commitment to professional development and encouraged continued investment in advanced training and skill development. The experience provided concrete evidence that professional competence combined with moral courage could create meaningful positive change in complex interpersonal situations. The community impact of Abuelo's charitable donations began manifesting during this period through scholarship awards and community development project implementation that demonstrated the effectiveness of strategic philanthropy and careful organizational selection. The results provided validation for his research methodology and decision-making criteria, while creating inspiration for continued charitable engagement. The educational scholarships that Abuelo's donation funded enabled multiple first-generation college students to access higher education opportunities that would transform their career prospects and family circumstances. The recipient selection process emphasized academic potential and community service commitment, while providing support services that enhance student success and retention rates. The long-term impact of our Christmas crisis and resolution process established foundation for ongoing family growth and relationship development that would continue influencing our interactions and decision-making processes throughout subsequent years. The lessons learned about character, courage, and authentic relationship building became guiding principles that shaped future challenges and opportunities for individual and collective advancement. The spring months following our transformative Christmas experience brought unexpected developments that would test the stability of the character growth and relationship improvements our family had achieved through crisis resolution and sustained commitment to ethical principles. The emergence of new challenges required application of learned lessons to unfamiliar situations, while maintaining the moral courage and family loyalty that had guided our previous success in navigating complex interpersonal dynamics. The first significant complication arose from Rachel's workplace environment, where her newfound commitment to authentic leadership and ethical decision-making created tension with established organizational culture and management practices that prioritized short-term results over sustainable relationship building and community responsibility. Her transformation from impression management to character-based professional development challenged existing power structures and created resistance from colleagues who perceived her changes as implicit criticism of their approaches. The marketing firm where Rachel worked had built its reputation on aggressive client acquisition strategies and competitive positioning that often involved exaggerating capabilities, minimizing potential risks, and creating artificial urgency that pressured clients into decisions without adequate consideration or due diligence. Her growing commitment to transparent communication and ethical business practices placed her at odds with supervisors who measured success primarily through revenue generation and client retention rates. The specific incident that crystallized this workplace conflict involved a major client presentation where Rachel refused to misrepresent her company's experience with similar projects and declined to guarantee outcomes that she knew were unrealistic given timeline constraints and resource limitations. Her insistence on honest capability assessment and transparent risk communication contradicted the presentation strategy that her supervisor had developed and approved. The professional consequences of Rachel's ethical stance included formal reprimand from management, exclusion from future high-profile client presentations, and informal ostracism from colleagues who viewed her behavior as naive idealism that threatened team performance and individual career advancement opportunities. The workplace environment became increasingly hostile, as her commitment to integrity created contrast with prevailing organizational practices. The psychological pressure that Rachel experienced during this period tested her commitment to character transformation and created temptation to revert to previous behavioral patterns that prioritized external validation over internal conviction. The choice between maintaining ethical principles and preserving professional advancement opportunities required the same type of moral courage that had characterized our family's Christmas crisis resolution. My role as Rachel's sister and professional counselor during this workplace crisis involved providing emotional support while encouraging application of character development lessons to challenging professional situations. The counseling approach emphasized connecting her current ethical choices to long-term career satisfaction and relationship building, rather than focusing solely on immediate consequences or external pressures. The therapeutic work during this period explored the relationship between authentic leadership and professional success, examining case studies and research evidence that demonstrated the long-term advantages of integrity-based career development over short-term tactical approaches that compromise personal values for immediate advancement. The exploration helped Rachel understand that workplace conflicts often indicate alignment problems between individual values and organizational culture, rather than personal failure or inadequate professional competence. Thomas's support during Rachel's workplace crisis demonstrated the strength of relationships built on shared values and mutual respect, rather than superficial attraction or social convenience. His understanding of business ethics and professional development provided practical guidance, while his emotional support reinforced her commitment to character-based decision-making, even when such choices created immediate difficulties. The business perspective that Thomas offered drew from his family's experience with ethical investment strategies and sustainable business practices that prioritized long-term value creation over short-term profit maximization. His examples of successful companies that had built competitive advantage through integrity and transparency provided evidence that ethical business practices could enhance rather than compromise professional success. The second major complication emerged from Abuelo's health situation, when routine medical examinations revealed early-stage cardiovascular condition that required immediate lifestyle modifications and ongoing medical monitoring. The diagnosis created family anxiety about his long-term health prospects, while also raising questions about his ability to continue managing his charitable activities and maintaining the active lifestyle that had characterized his retirement years. The medical challenges that Abuelo faced required family coordination and support systems that tested our ability to maintain the collaborative approach and mutual respect that had emerged from our Christmas crisis resolution. The practical demands of medical appointments, medication management, and lifestyle adjustments created opportunities for family members to demonstrate continued commitment to supporting each other through difficulties. Rachel's response to Abuelo's health challenges provided concrete evidence of her character transformation, as she immediately volunteered to coordinate his medical care and adjust her work schedule to ensure family support during treatment processes. Her willingness to prioritize family needs over professional convenience demonstrated integration of lessons learned about family loyalty and appropriate priority setting. The healthcare navigation process required advocacy skills and systematic organization that drew upon my professional experience with crisis management, while also providing opportunities for Rachel to develop caregiving capabilities and deepen her relationship with Abuelo through shared challenges and collaborative problem-solving. The medical treatment plan that Abuelo's physicians developed emphasized lifestyle modifications including dietary adjustments, exercise programs, and stress management techniques that could be enhanced through family support and encouragement. The implementation of these changes required coordination among family members and integration with existing household routines and cultural preferences. The third significant complication involved my own professional situation, when budget constraints at the school district resulted in staffing reductions that eliminated my position as family counselor and required transition to alternative employment or career direction. The job loss occurred despite positive performance evaluations and strong relationships with students and families, reflecting broader economic pressures rather than individual performance concerns. The career transition that I faced provided opportunities to apply the principles of resilience and adaptive thinking that I had developed through professional training and family crisis management, while also testing my ability to maintain optimism and strategic planning during uncertainty and financial pressure. The situation required reassessment of career goals and exploration of alternative pathways for applying counseling skills and family advocacy expertise. The job search process that followed involved comprehensive evaluation of employment opportunities that would align with my professional values and utilize the enhanced skills I had developed through practical experience with family intervention and crisis resolution. The exploration included consideration of private practice counseling, nonprofit organization roles, and educational consulting positions that would provide meaningful work while maintaining financial stability. Thomas's family network provided valuable resources during my career transition, including professional contacts and consultation opportunities that demonstrated the practical benefits of authentic relationship building and mutual support networks. The assistance offered reflected genuine friendship and respect, rather than superficial networking or obligation-based support. The consulting opportunities that emerged through these connections involved family counseling projects and educational program development that utilized my specialized expertise while providing flexible scheduling and professional autonomy that enhanced rather than constrained my ability to support family members during challenging periods. The intersection of multiple family challenges during this period created complex demands on emotional resources and practical capabilities, while also providing opportunities to demonstrate application of crisis management skills and values-based decision-making under pressure. The successful navigation of concurrent difficulties validated the effectiveness of character development and relationship building that had emerged from our Christmas experience. Rachel's decision to decline a job offer from a competing marketing firm that would have provided significant salary increase but required relocation away from family during Abuelo's health challenges demonstrated her growing understanding of appropriate priority setting and long-term relationship investment. The choice reflected integration of lessons learned about family loyalty and authentic success rather than purely financial or career advancement considerations. The family coordination that emerged during this period of multiple challenges established new patterns of mutual support and collaborative problem-solving that strengthened relationships while distributing responsibilities in ways that honored individual capabilities and availability. The approach emphasized shared commitment to family values while respecting personal autonomy and professional development needs. Abuelo's response to his health challenges demonstrated remarkable resilience and positive attitude that provided inspiration for other family members while also creating opportunities for continued wisdom sharing and relationship deepening. His approach to medical treatment emphasized maintaining dignity and independence, while accepting appropriate support and assistance from family members who wanted to contribute to his care and comfort. The charitable donation projects that Abuelo continued to oversee despite health challenges provided evidence of his commitment to social responsibility and community impact, while also creating structured activities that supported cognitive engagement and sense of purpose during treatment processes. The ongoing philanthropic work demonstrated that meaningful contribution could continue even when physical limitations required adaptation and modification of previous approaches. The character growth that all family members demonstrated during this period of multiple challenges established foundation for continued resilience and relationship strength that would support future difficulties, while also creating confidence in our collective ability to navigate complex situations through collaboration and mutual support guided by shared values and ethical principles. The convergence of workplace conflicts, family health concerns, and career transitions that had challenged our family during the spring months necessitated comprehensive strategic reassessment and innovative problem-solving approaches that would transform apparent setbacks into catalysts for enhanced personal and professional development. The complexity of managing multiple concurrent challenges required implementation of systematic planning methodologies and collaborative decision-making processes that drew upon the emotional intelligence and ethical foundations established through our Christmas crisis resolution experience. Rachel's deteriorating workplace situation reached a decisive turning point when her supervisor presented her with an ultimatum requiring either conformity to established organizational practices that violated her ethical principles, or acceptance of performance improvement plans that would effectively marginalize her role and limit future advancement opportunities. The choice between professional security and personal integrity represented a critical test of the character transformation she had achieved through sustained therapeutic work and family relationship development. The decision-making process that Rachel undertook during this professional crossroads involved comprehensive analysis of career alternatives that would align with her evolved values, while providing financial stability and professional growth opportunities. The exploration required honest assessment of her enhanced skills and capabilities, alongside realistic evaluation of market conditions and industry trends that might influence employment prospects and long-term career sustainability. The innovative solution that emerged from Rachel's strategic planning involved leveraging her marketing expertise and cultural competency to establish an independent consulting practice specializing in authentic brand development for businesses seeking to build genuine connections with diverse consumer populations. The business concept capitalized on her unique combination of corporate marketing experience and personal understanding of cultural identity challenges to create specialized services that addressed gaps in current market offerings. The market research that Rachel conducted revealed significant demand among small and medium-sized businesses for marketing consultation that emphasized cultural authenticity and community relationship building, rather than superficial demographic targeting or stereotypical advertising approaches. Her investigation identified particular opportunities within immigrant-owned businesses and cultural organizations, seeking to expand their market reach while maintaining community connections and cultural integrity. The business development process required application of financial planning skills and strategic thinking capabilities that Rachel had developed through her corporate experience, while incorporating ethical principles and relationship-building approaches that reflected her character transformation. The integration of professional competence with personal values created foundation for sustainable business growth that would enhance rather than compromise her commitment to integrity and community service. Thomas provided valuable consultation during Rachel's business planning process, drawing upon his family's experience with ethical investment strategies and sustainable business development to offer guidance on financial structuring, client relationship management, and growth planning that would support long-term success while maintaining alignment with personal values and social responsibility principles. The business model that Rachel developed emphasized collaborative partnerships with clients rather than traditional vendor relationships, creating shared investment in outcomes and mutual accountability for results that strengthened client relationships, while providing predictable revenue streams and referral opportunities. The approach reflected lessons learned about authentic relationship building and demonstrated practical application of character-based business practices. My career transition process during this period involved comprehensive exploration of professional opportunities that would utilize my enhanced family counseling expertise while providing greater autonomy and impact than traditional institutional employment offered. The job loss that had initially appeared as professional setback created opportunities for career advancement that would not have been available within existing organizational structures and limitations. The consulting opportunities that emerged through Thomas's family network provided practical experience with private practice counseling, while generating income that supported financial stability during transition periods. The client work involved family intervention services and organizational consultation that applied crisis management and relationship development skills to diverse professional contexts. The specialized expertise that I had developed through practical experience with cultural identity challenges and intergenerational conflict resolution created unique value propositions that distinguished my consulting services from traditional family therapy approaches. The combination of professional training with authentic personal experience provided credibility and effectiveness that enhanced client outcomes while supporting sustainable business development. The innovative program development that became central to my consulting practice involved creation of culturally responsive family counseling curricula that could be implemented within educational institutions, community organizations, and healthcare systems serving diverse populations. The program design addressed gaps in existing services while providing scalable solutions that could benefit multiple families and communities simultaneously. Abuelo's health management during this period required systematic coordination of medical care with family support systems, while maintaining his independence, and continued involvement in charitable activities that provided meaning and purpose during treatment processes. The healthcare coordination created opportunities for family collaboration that strengthened relationships while ensuring comprehensive care and emotional support. The medical treatment plan that Abuelo's healthcare team developed emphasized lifestyle modifications and preventative care strategies that could be enhanced through family involvement and cultural food traditions that supported both health goals and cultural identity maintenance. The integration of medical recommendations with family preferences required creative problem-solving and flexible adaptation of traditional approaches. The charitable oversight responsibilities that Abuelo continued to manage despite health challenges required development of delegation systems and collaborative management approaches that involved family members while maintaining his decision-making authority and personal investment in philanthropic outcomes. The shared responsibility structure created opportunities for intergenerational learning while ensuring continuity of charitable impact. The scholarship recipients who benefited from Abuelo's educational donations during this period provided regular updates on their academic progress and career development that demonstrated tangible impact of his philanthropic investment. The success stories offered encouragement during health challenges while validating his charitable selection criteria and impact measurement approaches. The community development projects that received funding through Abuelo's donations began showing measurable improvements in neighborhood infrastructure and social services availability that created broader community impact beyond individual beneficiaries. The systematic evaluation of project outcomes provided evidence of effective philanthropic strategy while inspiring continued community engagement and support. The financial management challenges that arose from coordinating multiple career transitions while maintaining family support obligations required innovative budgeting approaches and collaborative resource sharing that distributed economic pressures while preserving individual autonomy and professional development opportunities. The family financial coordination reflected principles of mutual support without creating dependency or limiting personal growth initiatives. Thomas's family provided practical assistance during this period through professional networking opportunities and temporary financial support that demonstrated authentic friendship and shared commitment to family success, rather than superficial charity or obligation-based assistance. The support structure maintained dignity for all parties while providing essential resources during transition periods. The wedding planning process that Rachel and Thomas undertook during this period of professional transitions required integration of diverse cultural traditions, with practical considerations related to changing financial circumstances and family obligations. The celebration planning reflected their shared commitment to authentic relationship building and cultural appreciation, while demonstrating financial responsibility and family priority setting. The venue selection and ceremony planning emphasized cultural authenticity and family involvement, rather than external impression management or social status demonstration. The approach reflected lessons learned about genuine sophistication and meaningful celebration that honored both families' values while creating lasting memories and relationship-strengthening opportunities. The professional recognition that both Rachel and I began receiving during this period resulted from innovative approaches to client service and community impact, rather than traditional networking or promotional strategies. The authentic expertise and character-based business practices created natural referral networks and reputation development that supported sustainable growth without compromising personal values or relationship quality. The industry connections that developed through our consulting work provided opportunities for collaboration and knowledge sharing that enhanced professional development while contributing to broader improvements in family counseling practices and culturally responsive business development strategies. The participation in professional organizations and continuing education reflected commitment to excellence and ongoing learning that supported long-term career satisfaction. The measurement systems that we implemented to track client outcomes and business impact provided evidence of effectiveness, while identifying areas for continued improvement and service enhancement. The data collection and analysis approaches reflected commitment to accountability and results-oriented practice that validated our innovative methods while supporting evidence-based decision-making for future development. The long-term strategic planning that emerged from this period of challenge and innovation established foundation for sustained professional growth and family relationship development that would support continued character development and community impact throughout subsequent years. The integration of personal values with professional competence created models for authentic success that could inspire and guide others facing similar challenges and opportunities for growth and transformation. The summer months following our family's strategic pivot toward independent professional ventures brought unprecedented opportunities for collaborative initiatives that would demonstrate the effectiveness of values-based business development, while creating sustainable models for community impact and intergenerational knowledge transfer. The convergence of Rachel's marketing expertise, my specialized counseling capabilities, and Abuelo's philanthropic experience established foundation for integrated service delivery that addressed complex social challenges through coordinated professional intervention and systematic community engagement. The initial collaboration between Rachel and myself emerged from recognition that effective family counseling required sophisticated understanding of cultural identity marketing and authentic community relationship building that extended beyond traditional therapeutic approaches. The integration of marketing psychology with family systems theory created innovative service delivery models that enhanced client outcomes while establishing competitive advantages in rapidly evolving professional service markets. The joint consulting practice that we developed emphasized comprehensive family support services that addressed both relationship dynamics and cultural adaptation challenges through coordinated intervention strategies. The approach recognized that sustainable family healing required attention to external social pressures and economic opportunities, alongside internal communication patterns and conflict resolution skills development. The client acquisition strategy that Rachel implemented for our collaborative practice demonstrated practical application of authentic relationship-building principles to business development activities. Rather than pursuing traditional advertising or promotional approaches, the marketing methodology emphasized community engagement and referral network development through consistent demonstration of professional competence and ethical service delivery. The first major client engagement that tested our collaborative model involved a multi-generational immigrant family experiencing conflicts similar to those we had navigated during our own Christmas crisis, though complicated by additional factors including language barriers, employment discrimination, and housing instability that required comprehensive intervention addressing both family dynamics and external support system development. The assessment process that we implemented for this complex case required integration of family therapy techniques, with practical resource coordination and advocacy services that addressed immediate survival needs, while promoting long-term relationship healing and cultural identity development. The comprehensive approach demonstrated the effectiveness of combining psychological intervention with practical support services to create sustainable positive outcomes. Rachel's contribution to the intervention process involved developing culturally responsive communication strategies that honored traditional family authority structures while promoting healthy boundary setting and intergenerational dialogue. Her marketing background provided valuable insights into cross-cultural communication effectiveness and message framing that enhanced therapeutic intervention while respecting cultural values and preferences. The outcome measurement systems that we established for tracking client progress incorporated both traditional therapeutic assessment tools and innovative metrics that evaluated cultural identity development, family cohesion improvement, and community integration success. The comprehensive evaluation approach provided evidence of intervention effectiveness while identifying areas for continued service enhancement and methodology refinement. Thomas's involvement in our expanding professional network during this period provided access to business development resources and strategic planning consultation that enhanced our practice sustainability while maintaining alignment with ethical principles and community service commitments. His understanding of sustainable business models and growth strategies contributed valuable perspective on scaling service delivery without compromising quality or cultural responsiveness. The business advisory support that Thomas provided emphasized development of organizational systems and financial management practices that would support continued growth while maintaining the personal attention and cultural competency that distinguished our services from larger, more institutionalized family counseling providers. The guidance reflected his family's experience with values-based business development and long-term strategic planning. Abuelo's continued involvement in our collaborative efforts during this period required careful management of his energy and health considerations, while maximizing the wisdom and community connections that enhanced our service delivery capabilities. The integration of his philanthropic experience and community relationships provided access to resource networks and cultural knowledge that improved client outcomes, while creating opportunities for meaningful engagement despite physical limitations. The mentorship program that Abuelo developed for young entrepreneurs from immigrant families became a central component of our comprehensive service model, providing practical business guidance and cultural navigation support that complemented the family counseling services. The program design emphasized character development and ethical business practices while addressing practical challenges related to market access and professional network development. The scholarship oversight responsibilities that Abuelo continued to manage created opportunities for our practice to develop relationships with educational institutions and student support services that enhanced our referral networks while providing additional resources for families seeking educational advancement opportunities. The connections facilitated comprehensive support planning that addressed both immediate family challenges and long-term educational and career development goals. The community partnerships that emerged through our collaborative practice demonstrated the effectiveness of integrated service delivery that addressed multiple aspects of family well-being through coordinated professional intervention. The relationships with healthcare providers, educational institutions, legal aid organizations, and employment services created comprehensive support networks that enhanced individual family outcomes while contributing to broader community development initiatives. The training programs that we developed for other family counseling professionals reflected our commitment to knowledge sharing and professional development that would expand the availability of culturally responsive family services beyond our immediate practice capacity. The curriculum design emphasized practical skill development and ethical framework application rather than theoretical knowledge transfer, creating immediately applicable competencies for diverse professional backgrounds. The workshop series that Rachel designed for business owners seeking to develop authentic cultural competency in their marketing and client relationship practices provided additional revenue streams while contributing to broader community economic development through improved cross-cultural business effectiveness. The programs addressed specific challenges that immigrant-owned businesses faced in expanding their market reach while maintaining cultural authenticity and community connections. The evaluation research that we conducted regarding the effectiveness of our integrated service model provided evidence that would support professional publication and conference presentation opportunities that could enhance our practice reputation while contributing to broader improvements in family counseling practices and cultural competency development throughout the professional service industry. The financial sustainability that our collaborative practice achieved during this period validated the viability of values-based business development while providing economic security that supported continued professional development and community service commitment. The success demonstrated that ethical business practices and authentic relationship building could create competitive advantages rather than limiting growth opportunities. The expansion planning that we undertook for the following year involved careful consideration of growth strategies that would maintain service quality and cultural responsiveness, while increasing our capacity to serve additional families and communities. The strategic development process emphasized sustainable scaling approaches that would preserve the personal attention and customized intervention strategies that distinguished our services. The staff recruitment process that accompanied our expansion planning required identification of professionals who demonstrated both technical competency and character alignment with our values-based service delivery approach. The selection criteria emphasized cultural competency, ethical commitment, and collaborative skills alongside traditional qualifications and experience requirements. The technology integration initiatives that we implemented during this period enhanced our service delivery efficiency while maintaining the personal connection and cultural sensitivity that characterized our approach to family counseling. The systems development emphasized client privacy protection and culturally appropriate communication methods, while providing data management capabilities that supported outcome measurement and continuous improvement processes. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.